And they are amazing. So welcome back to Linda.
We have music.
All right, we like music.
Now we're so special.
In fact, I think everybody should get up for just a couple of seconds with a little bit of music just to kind of shake things up, get your body moving, get feeling a little bit better. Come on, make some movement.
We were actually in Toronto a couple weeks ago, and we were going to meet up with the Dorsey's, and then Shannon had just lost her father, and so we ended up FaceTiming them from our hotel room till really late at night, because that's what you do when your best friend loses their dad. Anyway, we're happy to be here for you too. Anyways, I'm Amanda Cooper.
And I'm Bryan Cooper.
And we're excited to be here today. Thanks for coming out, you guys. Thanks to Holly and Bryan for inviting us to come. Today we want to talk to you about what do you really want. How many of you guys have ever seen the movie The Notebook?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that scene?
What do
He's
you
like,
want?
what do you want?
What do you want?
It's not that simple. Right? So Brian's been asking me this for a while. But anyway, we got it finally figured out. So we want to talk to you guys about this because this actually transpires into almost everything that you do every single day. And this is something that we have worked at even more recently, narrowing it down even more. And it's an exciting part of how you can live your life. So what I want you to do as we start out, though, is grab a piece of paper and a pen if you don't have one yet, or your phone where you can write notes, because you're going to need it. As soon as you have that out, look to your friend on your right. You know which one is your right. That one. And say, this is going to be really good. Pay attention.
I'm recording it. That's how good I know it's going to be.
So this is our family. We also had 4 children in 5 years. We thought we were in the minority, so we met Jen and Sean.
We don't recommend it either.
It's definitely insane. So we call our 4 kids the Mini Coopers. If you follow us on social media, it's always hashtag Mini Cooper. So I get a lot of people on Instagram following me with Mini Cooper accounts, and I'm like, guys, that's not what it is. Like, they're not actually cars. So that's Haley Rose, that's Nathan Jeffrey, that's Hannah Grace, and Hope Olivia. Oh, they want to see the kids.
So sorry.
Can you go back real quick? So I grew up in a family with 10 children. I'm the 3rd born out of 10. Brian is 1 out of
9.
We met in our 20s. We were both homeschooled our entire life, kindergarten through 12. And so when we met, I was like, whoa, like, you kind of grew up like I did. And it was really weird. We had the same friends growing up, but we never met each other until we were in our 20s. We got married 5 months after we met. We had a baby in less than a year's time after getting married. We didn't get married because I was pregnant, just so you know. And so it's been just a whirlwind since then. Anyways, I was a piano teacher. I started a business when I was 15 years old. I didn't really care about school very much. I wanted to start a business. I love music. So I started teaching and just loved every part of that. Then we met, got married, had a lot of babies. So that's sort of where I want to pass it off to you to kind of talk about who you are a little bit. So I want to get back into the teaching thing.
Right. So grew up in a big home, like you said, and a lot of similarities when we got together. Had a lot of goals that were very, very similar to one another. So we always had something that we were working towards, whether it was flipping houses or working on our own businesses or raising kids. And I was in construction. I was in construction since I was a kid with my dad's business. And I started out as a painter, 7 years old, started managing jobs when I was 16, and just worked in construction all my life. But I wasn't really always satisfied with it. Like, I knew I was supposed to do something else, and I did not know what that was. And I really didn't know what I wanted. And so leads us to the question of today, what do you really want? And in fact, I went downstairs to have my notes stapled, and then stapled in a hole at the front desk. And the lady that was standing there, she was like, "What do you want?" She saw the headliner of that. She's like, "That's a really good question." And she kind of stood there for a second. I think, yeah, it does get you thinking. What do you really want in life? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But why did you come here today? Did you come here for the food? But you realized there wasn't any food? Did you come here to get inspired, to learn more about yourself, to grow your business, to find out if the Ula guys were hippies, to get away from your family? I don't know. Well, there's a reason why you came here today, and the reason is all of us are designed for growth. We all want to grow. We don't want to stand in the same spot. We're not designed that way. We're designed for expansion and fuller expression. And the reason why you guys are all here is you want to learn more. You have questions about life, and you want to know how to grow a business. You want to know how to get your health on track. So many different questions. So you all came here for a reason, and that is to grow.
So my girls and I have this thing. Every time we see the little dandelion puffs, we always, is that what they're called? I don't know. The little seed puffs. We pick them, and my girls call it blowing wishes. And we always blow wishes together. And we blow the little seeds into the air. And we sit there and we think about what we want, and then we make a wish. The thing is, when we make those little wishes, it's sort of like a game, but they don't know the wishes in my heart that I'm actually wishing in that moment. And I don't know what's in their heart either in that moment. So every time we have this, of course, it reminds us of something that we want. And it's fun and it's a good memory. But it's sort of like a game. But life is sort of like a game. Do you agree? In some ways, if you really think about it. So I just want to ask you the question, what does true desire mean to you? Do you desire a healthier lifestyle? I mean, we've found health in Young Living, but do you desire to become better in the health? Okay? In that health. Do you desire a better business? What about better relationships? I think the guys in the back have a really great book about all those things. But true desire is more than a wish. It's actually a longing or a yearning in your heart. It's one of those things that you can't go to sleep at night without thinking about it. You can't wake up in the morning without thinking about it. You guys remember when you fell in love? Nobody had to remind you to think about that person, right? It's like you practice writing your name with his last name. By the way, his last name is, it sounds better than my maiden name. You can ask me that later. So nobody had to remind you to think about it, but how many times have you ever felt unmotivated to go after a goal? And you don't have to raise your hand or even say it out loud, but we all know inside of our heart there's been times when we felt like quitting, we felt like obstacles were becoming greater than desire. So we want to talk to you today about turning a wish into reality, but more than just reality, turning the desire or the wish past just the wishful state, more into the burning desire inside your heart.
So desire, it really isn't worth anything unless it becomes a reality, right? Like you guys desire, but you never do anything with it. It doesn't come to reality. Is it worth anything? And at that point, no. So we've been on a path of learning how do you actually turn your desire into a reality. And there's two different ways that really help get that on track. So
the first way to turn desire into reality is to have an emotional impact. You have to have one. So our journey in Young Living started 5 years ago, but before we actually got our oils, I would say it started more like 6 years ago. I was 9 months pregnant with our fourth baby. We moved into a new house. At that point, we were flipping houses and doing the whole fixing up, selling, all of that. We moved into one of our flip houses, and we hadn't planned to move into. I'm 9 months pregnant with baby number 4, and we had fixed up everything in that house except for replacing the windows. And I had said to Bryan, can we please just wait on that? Let's just move in. I'm so sick, I'm so tired. Let's just get in the house. We'll replace the windows in the spring. We get in this house, and the baby's born 3 weeks later. I get extremely sick right before the baby's born with bronchitis. Actually, my water broke because I was coughing so hard. Bring the baby home, she starts coughing. We thought that was odd. Within a few months, all the kids were really sick, but it's winter, and that's normal, right? I was purely in survival mode at that point. I had very difficult pregnancies, so 4 in a row was hard. Bryan was working 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, because at that point, we only made money if we worked. Okay? Sound familiar? So, which meant that he had to be gone more. So here I am in survival mode. We're all really sick. I kept getting more sick, but our son Nathan was 3 years old at that time, and he was slipping away. He quit wanting to walk. He slept 18 hours a day. He threw up all the time. He had fevers all the time. We were in and out of the doctors. They were doing blood work. They wanted to do this and that, and we didn't even have insurance because we were entrepreneurs. We paid for everything, and still no answers. So we did all these tests, we did all these things. Finally, they diagnosed him with 2 autoimmune disorders. And then the doctor looks at me and says, you just have to accept the fact that he's going to be sick the rest of his life. You need to take him home and understand he has a weakened immune system and just be okay with that. Quit coming back in. So I moved his hands off my shoulders and said, if you can't help him, then I will. So I picked him up because he wasn't walking that day and carried him home. So I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but just because a doctor diagnoses you with something, does that mean you're better? No. So now I took him home, laid him on the couch, and I was completely lost. I had a desire to have a well child, but I didn't know where to turn. What you're looking for is always looking for you. Just know that, okay? So I had no idea what was about to come into my life. But I prayed over him that God would show me what to do. So weeks went by, we kept researching. One day, this was, I think it was like around the end of October, November, we had a warm season that had come through, and the kids were outside playing, but Nathan wouldn't play. He would only sit on the swings. And I took a picture of him and I posted it on Facebook, and I said, you guys, I haven't told anyone this, but we don't know what's wrong with Nathan. Will you please pray for us? We're lost. And I had all these people commenting, we're praying for you guys, blah, blah, blah. Nobody offered a solution. Which I wasn't, I just didn't know what was out there. I was seeking, but nobody offered anything. So I tucked him in bed that night, and he was crying, and he had been throwing up all day, and he started asking if he could go to heaven. And this was something he would often talk about dying. And so I just looked at him and I said, buddy, no, not yet. That night I prayed over him and I just said simple words, God, you have to show me what to do. So I walked back into my room, I pulled out the laptop, and I had been researching every night when I put the kids to bed. And my dad had emailed me a letter of another family who was using Young Living, or not Young Living, I'm sorry, they were using essential oils to help themselves. And at that point, we had found out that we had mold poisoning from our house. So I got really curious about what would happen if I added oils into our life. I had no idea what they were. And so here's the thing. I had a desire, and somebody presented me with an opportunity. Oils, right? Didn't know how I was going to get them. Didn't know what company. You think I even knew what a terpene was? Or a sesquiterpene? Had no idea. I looked across the bed at Bryan and I said, what do you think? Should I try this? He goes, whatever it takes. So I called a friend of mine who had been praying for us, and I said, hey, I think I'm going to try getting oils for him. I don't know, I was reading something, and they did this, they did that. It seemed weird, but, And she said, well, I just got oils last week. And I said, oh, okay, well, whatever you got, I know I want thieves. She goes, oh, yeah, okay, well, that's in the kit. And we still don't even remember the whole conversation. All I know is that a box showed up at my house a week later with a diffuser in it, which I thought was so weird, so I didn't open it. And nobody on my Facebook used oils. Like, guys, I legit didn't know what oils were. So I get them out, and all I knew is I wanted this thieves oil, and all I knew is I should put oils in the bottom of my kids' feet. So if you don't know what to do with oils yet, that's what you do. So I started putting it on his feet, and within 30 days, we noticed noticeable changes. Energy, emotions, guys, his little body was changing. So it made me ask more questions, and of course we started changing our whole lifestyle over. And let's go to the next slide. We started incorporating Young Living into every part of our life. We changed our diet, we changed the way we spoke around our kids. We started doing so many things. We switched all the stuff out from under the sink. I started to find direct links between the products I was bathing him in and his reactions he would have. It was just crazy, all these connections that were happening. Which leads to the second way, the second way to bring desire into reality is through repetition of information. It took me about a year to get him completely where he is today, but today he does live symptom-free. How many of you have heard the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step? Sometimes you just have to take the first step, even when you don't see that full staircase. I had no idea what the oils were going to do. I didn't know. We just kept doing little bits, and every small choice ended up with big, huge results in their life. My children have a completely different life now because of those choices. But the thing was, over that year time, I had a lot of people coming at me saying, what the heck are you doing? Why are you using this? It doesn't make sense. You should have those kids at the doctor. And I had to tune all that out, but the only way to keep me focused on the desire was repetition of information. So every single day, I would turn on somebody from YouTube. How many of you guys know who Jim Bob Haggerton is? Right? I listened to him like crazy. He taught me how to take care of my kids in a new way. I love him. Now he's a great friend of ours. So anyways, we just kept listening, and of course things started to become reality. Now the reality is my children live different because I had a desire, saw the opportunity, and I made a decision. How many of you guys have friends in your life today who know about the oils but haven't made a decision? Yes. Here's another question. How many of you in this room know about the income opportunity but haven't made a decision? Don't have to raise your hand on that one. We'll go next.
So that emotional impact that we felt, and we all are attached to things emotionally, but sometimes it's a specific thing that can actually cause us to have the desire to make that decision. We, through that emotional impact, even with the Dorseys and Sean and everything that he went through, they were impacted emotionally, and it led them to making the decision to make changes in their life. And through the repetition of the right information, doing certain things, like Sean with his AA program, and us listening to things on a daily basis all the time, brings that desire to a reality. And it's powerful. And just think about when you fall in love and you're impacted emotionally, and you're so involved in that person, you can feel it on such a deep emotional level if you're connecting with that person. And you got to do the same thing with any type of goal. When you can get to the point where you are just as emotionally involved with your goal of maybe the next rank, losing weight, seeking forgiveness, having a better relationship, whatever the case may be, you got to get just as emotionally involved as if the first time you fell in love with someone. It's that powerful, and it'll start to move, and your desire will grow, and you'll make the decisions to make the changes in your life.
So now's when you have that pad of paper out, your phone out. As we talk, this is what I want you to do. You don't show anyone this is for you. Start writing down everything you really want. I was at a conference back in April, Bryan and I both were, and this question was asked from stage. And to be honest, I hadn't sat there long enough to think about it in one place. I knew what I wanted, but he said, write it down. Everything that you haven't even thought of since you were a child. What do you want to do? What do you want? So I started writing things down, and the first thing I wrote down was something that I haven't thought about since I was a child. I'm not saying it out loud right now, because it's something that it's a desire that will come forward, but it's for me right now. And I wrote it down, and I was so freaked out when I wrote it down, I immediately covered it. It's like, I don't want anybody to see this. It was the coolest, most empowering thing to realize that I still have desires inside my heart that I haven't even thought about in over 20 years. So write down, what do you want? Just keep thinking about it as we're talking.
So as you're going through this change, the repetition of information, you're going to come across something that Bob Proctor talks about as the terror barrier. these ideas, these goals, these dreams are going to scare the crap out of you. And it's going to manifest. I mean, you're going to be you're crying, and you're going to have days where you feel like you're going to give up, or you want to give up. You're going to be impacted on a different emotional level. You're going to feel like this is just terrifying. I don't want to go there. But it's our paradigm, it's our old habits, our old ways of thinking, that negative way of thinking that will actually want to just keep us in that old pattern and not want us to move forward. Because when we're around the right information, around the right people, moving forward, we're changing, we're growing. So we're changing into a whole different person, but our habits always want to take us back. And it gets to be to where this new change is always very, very uncomfortable. I mean, I remember Amanda, there's so many times where she'd get into bed and she'd be crying and it's like, I just can't do this with the business or with our kids or something like that. But many times, like, I'm ready to give up on Young Living because sometimes you're just working so hard, you're changing, you're growing, and you have to do some really scary things, and you have to step out, and you have to get uncomfortable. And there's times where she was literally terrified. And I got to the point where, we realized from studying and working and growing in personal development that actually this terror barrier is a really good thing. So I'd be like, babe, it's okay, it's a good thing, this scare, this fear, and then I'd find myself on the couch at nighttime, and not really. But the idea was, it can be terrifying, it can be really, really hard, but those moments are really crucial in our growth process. And you get to the point where you actually look for them. Like, if you're not scared, then it's not a good thing. You need to be in a point where you're uncomfortable, and you recognize that uncomfortable feeling in that growth process is so good for you.
So one thing that helps with the terror barrier is understanding what it is. So something that would happen to me is when we're trying to make a big decision, or we have a big thing coming up in life, I would hit this terror barrier and it would show up as like anxiety or crying or feeling like a failure, those types of things, feeling inadequate. And what changed it for me was the awareness of understanding of what it was. If you can understand a feeling, you can actually embrace the feeling as part of the journey and understand that this is creating me to who I need to be. Embrace it. I'm going towards the right thing. This is why it feels scary. Let me show you an example. How many of you guys were ever scared of the dark when you were small? Okay, I still have, I don't like the dark. But I remember when I grew up, we had animals, we boarded horses, we did all these things. And the barn was pretty far back from the house. And we had to go do chores every night, and it's dark by 6 o'clock in Michigan, right, in the winter. And we had to go anyways, and I would bolt out there as fast as I could, and I was so sure there was monsters in the pine trees. And I knew they were going to get me. But it was so weird because when it was daytime, they weren't there, right? So the only reason you're afraid of a dark room or a dark area is because you can't see, you're afraid of what you can't see. If you're hitting a terror barrier, it's not because there's something there that's actually wrong or bad or you're failing or anything like that. It's simply because you're moving into something you can't see, and that's why it's called faith. Once we know what's in a room, are you still scared of the same room? No.
So if your goal doesn't scare you and excite you at the same time, it's not worth going after. And we're taught this in our coaching all the time. If it doesn't scare you and excite you, it's actually not a good idea. So that's when we begin to recognize that fear and that scariness of what we're doing, that's the change that we need. And it's got to scare you and excite you. And then you know you're in the right place. So one of the things that's so important, and even Sean was talking about, you got to get around the right people to have that support group when you want to change. And environment is essential to our growth process. And Bob Proctor has a really good analogy. He said you can take a poor man and put him in the presence of 4 millionaires, and in 5 years' time you'll have 5 millionaires. And it's just because of the environment of that man being placed with people that think bigger. They don't think lack and limitation. They don't talk about negativity. They don't talk about things that are going to pull you down. They just only move in a way that says, we are going here, this is what we're capable of, this is what we're doing. And innately, that person has to just come alongside in that environment, and he begins to change. So getting around people that are going to build you up is so important. So our environment is crucial.
So when I first started out, though, in this young living life, or going after something, one of my desires, which was to get my kids healthy. You guys, I literally had someone pull me aside and said, I think your kids are sick because you don't let them eat Cheetos or Doritos. Sorry. Anyways, I was like, I don't think that's why. So obviously, the environment I was around was not supportive to my desire, right? Now, fast forward a year after that, I became aware of an incredible income opportunity in Young Living. And it wasn't that I didn't really know when I first signed up. I didn't understand. But a year later, I was given a book called The 4-Year Career. My eyes were opened. I was now aware. I began to grow a new desire to grow business. I was a piano teacher for 12 years. When I had my children, I still kept teaching. By the time I had my 4th, and we all got sick, I had to shut down my business. So I was always, in an environment of, it's okay, you just need to be this mom. That is the greatest calling. It is a great calling. But I still felt like there was a part of me missing. I knew that there was more in me that I was supposed to give out. And I started slipping into myself. I lost myself during that time. I cried almost every day. Bryan would be like, I don't know what to do for you. I'm like, I don't know what to do for you. But you have to take one of these children. I remember calling and saying, your butt is the only one they don't have to wipe. God help it never to be. So, I just lost myself in that journey, and I knew there was more. So when I discovered this income opportunity, I had said to him, we were sitting in bed that night too. I read that whole book out loud to him, and I said, I think I want to do this. Will you give me a year? I'm going to go for this, and if we're no better off in a year's time, I'll stop. He's like, whatever. So we went after it. Of course, a year later, we were way better off. But the thing is, I didn't have an environment that was supportive, because he was not actually supportive, which he would tell you. He was tolerant. There was a big difference.
I tolerated what she did. I didn't support it. It was whatever, but I was not for it.
Because the environment wasn't there, you may be sitting here today and you're like, I don't have an environment that is conducive to growth. I just don't. If you don't, you have to do what is available to you. And that is, I spent every single day, I still do this now, just like Kelly mentioned last night. If there's ever a silent moment in my day where I'm washing dishes, folding laundry, anything like that, I'm listening to somebody to train me. So one of the trainers I listened to the most was actually Melissa Pepping. The first time I heard her speak, I was standing in my kitchen washing dishes. She was doing one of her periscopes. I don't know if you guys remember what periscope is. And I was like, who is this chick talking about chandeliers and high heels? Because I am all in. And she was talking about mindset and A goals and B goals and C goals. And I was like, school was not my thing, but I'm listening. And anyway, it excited me, and I told myself in that moment, someday I'm going to find out who she's learning from, I'm going to go learn from that person, and then I'm going to speak at the same event as her. Thank you. Anyway, now we do learn from the same people she's been able to learn from, and it's changed everything from us. So you need to find somebody to stick in your earbuds every day and tell you you're worth it, you can do it, and you've got to move forward. Because if you don't have a repetition of information filling you, you're going to lose your desire. It's just not going to turn into reality.
So we're going to have to click through these stuff pretty quick to get through our program.
Okay.
So you're always in the right place at the right time. Always remember that. But you've got to be aware that you're in the right place at the right time. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
So the thing is, we were standing, this is when we were in Alaska, and there was about 20 adults standing around. And all of us were looking at the huge mountains and the sky and the rivers and this emerald lake. And my kids had an opportunity last summer to hatch a butterfly. Is that what you say? Hatch a butterfly? Yeah. I don't know. And so because they had an opportunity and they did it, they're now aware of more butterflies. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're all standing in the same place, but what do they find? A butterfly that had just hatched. They were aware because they understood how to look for what they wanted. So here's the thing. Most people assume that successful people have all the right circumstances around them. Well, of course you're good at this. You have a supportive husband. Of course you're good at this. Your kids are older than mine. Your kids go to school. You homeschool. You have more money than me. You can travel more. All these things. Circumstances don't determine success. The people who want success, if they don't see circumstances they want, they look around and they change them.
You're going to find first they will ignore you because you're doing something weird. Then they'll laugh at you. We got a lot of that. They will fight you at times. But ultimately, if you keep at it, you will win. And that's why it's so important to work at your desire.
Anybody ever put an oil on someone after they had fought you about it and it worked and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
Earl Nightingale said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. How many of you guys feel like, don't raise your hands, just think about this. Once I hit silver, then I'm obviously successful in my business. Once I hit Royal Crown Diamond, once I lose 50 pounds, once I whatever. Success is not about hitting a goal. It's about working towards a goal and who you become on the way there.
So dreams come a size too big so you can grow into them. It's all about growth. It's about growing yourself as a person. And you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So if you want to be something, if you want to be a silver, a gold, Royal Crown Diamond, you have to decide that that's who you're going to become. And it's a process, it's a growth process, but let that desire fuel you. Make the decisions to get out there boldly and make those changes. To change your life, you have to change your life. And it's through those changes that you're going to see your life change, and you'll be able to achieve anything that you really want. So really think about, what do I want? So this is something that, would anybody like something that would help them lock into their goal? Yep. Like, that they know that it would set up the emotional impact, it would get them locked into what they're doing so they really feel like they're connected with what they want. And they feel like they could do something better, they could have more strength, they're more connected with it. And if you feel like, okay, I want to be a silver, I'm not exactly sure how that is, I want to seek forgiveness, I want to have a better relationship, I want to lose weight, I want to look better. If there's a program that can help you out, how many people think they would actually be helpful? Okay, so this is something that I came up with through studying and studying and studying. And years ago, I heard Bob Proctor talk about how he rid himself of headaches. It was actually a gentleman that came up to him and said, hey, you're suffering from chronic headaches and you're actually doing it to yourself. And he's like, do you know what it means to forgive? And Bob says, no, guess not. And he says, to forgive means to abandon, to let go of completely. And he says, you got to get to the point to where you can see that person, whoever is affecting you in your mind, you got to see that person as happy, healthy, and wealthy. You got to get to that point in your life where when you see that person that has offended you, that's how you think of them. And he's like, you obviously haven't learned how to forgive because there's people that you're harboring bitterness for, and it's manifesting into chronic headaches. And once he was able to, so what he did is he actually wrote down hundreds and hundreds of times the person's name, and he said, I am so happy and grateful now that I willingly release all the thoughts and things that clutter my mind, and I release this person to their highest good. I see them happy, healthy, and prosperous. And he did this hundreds of times. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And then as I was studying, and we would work on personal development, and we hear people that said they had to do something so many times, like they had to prepare a speech and do that speech so many times until it actually became a part of who they were. And Eric Worre talked about he had to do his presentation 500 times until he felt like he was really a part of who he was. And then, conventions, the company's calling him to speak at conventions and stuff like that. And I was thinking, is there a certain amount of times that you have to do something until you're actually locked into a goal? Because how it works is repetition of the right information actually starts to change and alter our cells, and it actually changes our form in our body through the right information of changing our cell structure. So it's called rebuilding cells of recognition, and that's where habits are formed. And so is there a certain amount of times that you have to do something until you actually can be a part of you? And so what it is when Bob talked about forgiveness, he talked about the scripture where Jesus said you had to forgive somebody 70 times 7. Well, I'm studying, it's 490 times, right? Is the actual number of 70 times 7. And I'm hearing all these different people that are saying they have to do something about 500 times. And I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty close to that 490 mark. Is this a coincidence? I don't really think it is. So we began starting to do this. And we started writing down our goal. And this is the 490 transformation. It's a program to get you locked into your goal. So this is what I want you guys to write down. So what you do is you write down your goal 7 times a day. Write out your affirmation. Write out something that you want to be 7 times a day. And then you also, we'll get into it in a second, actually go over, yeah, you can go over that real quick. Go back, there you go.
So just write it coming from a place of gratitude. When you write out your goal that you're going to write 7 times a day, you put, I am so happy and grateful now that I am, and then finish it. And that's what you write 7 times a day for 70 days. Next.
So then what you want to do is you want to spend 7 minutes a day visualizing as if it's already happened. You have to speak your goal in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that I am. You have to live everything in the present tense in your mind. Your mind doesn't know the difference, so you got to speak everything as if it's already here, because everything that we want to achieve is actually already here right now. You know the Royal Crown Diamond is actually a thing, and it's right here, right now. We don't have to chase after it. We have to become aware of it. And visualization practice is so powerful. So what you do is you write down your goal, your affirmations 7 times a day in the morning, and then you let that carry you through the day, and then you also 7 minutes. Like, this takes a lot of practice to be able to focus for 7 minutes on one idea. It takes a lot of strength and willpower to be able to, in your mind, focus on something, visualize something as if it's already happened in as vivid, broad picture as possible. Like, you want to just be so emotionally involved with it. Say you want to be a Royal Crown Diamond. You got to picture yourself walking stage as a Royal Crown Diamond. Picture the dress that you're going to wear. Picture, the shoes, the earrings, the feeling. The dress that I'm wearing, it's already picked out. And you just got to get so emotionally involved. Like, paint a beautiful image of what you want as if it's already happened. And what I found out that's going to make this so powerful, and actually go to the next slide. This is my daughter Haley. She wanted to achieve all A's in school. And this is when she was struggling with her grades. And she came to me, this was her idea. She said, Dad, I want to get all A's. I said, that's great, Haley. I said, I can help you do that, but this is what you have to do. I said, you got to write down this goal. And I actually didn't have the program formulated at this time, but I just told her to write down her goal and read it to herself as often as possible every single day, and then also visualize herself receiving an A+ or an A every single time that she went to pick her report card. So I said, do this every single night. We sat down in bed, I said, just visualize yourself already receiving that A. You're an all A student. And within 5 weeks of her working on this program, she went back to school, and she has been an entire all A student for the past 2 years, just by doing that. So the one thing that we decided to add in here, and this is so powerful, is adding in essential oils to build a scent-based memory. Scent-based memories are so powerful, and they can be triggered by a scent in a fraction of a second. Think about if you smell an apple pie and it takes you right back to a kid in your grandma's house at that weird table or whatever it is. It can move you to a place so quickly. So when you have a goal and you're visualizing what you really want, and you use an essential oil, you're going to lock yourself into that so much faster. And the science behind how oil will actually work in your body is tremendous. I'm not going to get into it right now, but it is so powerful. And so when you're building that memory, and you know how we get working on stuff, and we get busy, sometimes you almost lose sight of your goal, or you get busy and you get off track, or you have the bad days, or you're feeling depressed, or you're working through the terror barrier, whatever the case may be. You need something that's going to pull you right back within a second. And that's exactly what this does. So when you write down your goal 7 times, you're visualizing, and you're using the essential oil. You smell it as you're writing this down, as you're visualizing it. And then when you go throughout that day, that oil will keep you locked on target.
So basically it gives you an emotional impact every time you smell the oil.
Every single time is an emotional impact to keep you in connection with your goal. And this works for any goal that you want. I'm just starting to work with people that are suffering from PTSD. So they build an image of a place of calmness. And when they use that oil and they get into a situation where, something causes them to have an issue and they're all out of sorts emotionally because of something that happened to them traumatically, it will lock them right back into that place of calmness and get them out of it. It's almost like an EpiPen essential oil is almost like an EpiPen to their situation. And this is really, really powerful, and I'd love for all of you guys to try this thing out. It's called the 490 Transformation.
So a few weeks back, this is my daughter Hope, and she's 5. She came into my office, and she's got this pair of shorts that she wants to wear every day. You guys remember an outfit you have when you were a child that you wore all the time? These shorts are 2 sizes too small, but she won't get rid of them. She comes to my office, and she goes, Mommy, I can't find my shorts. I said, honey, I think they're in the laundry room, and they're in one of the baskets of laundry that need to be folded. And so she goes running off to find them. She comes back, I can't find them anywhere. I said, well, did you look through the laundry? Yes, I can't find them anywhere. I said, and she said, can I ask Haley to help me? I said, yes, you can go ask Haley to help you. She said, will you help me? I said, I can't right now, but I will in just a little bit. So she leaves, she goes to get her older sister Haley. Haley goes to go help her, and Haley doesn't have the right spirit about it. She doesn't care about Hope's desire or her goal, and so guess what? They don't find the shorts, right? So Hope is upset, she's crying, now she's frustrated, she can't reach her goal, and so she goes off, and she forgets about it though. She cries for about 5 minutes, leaves, and goes to play. I forgot I promised to help her. Sorry, kid. And the next morning, she comes in my bathroom, I'm putting my makeup on, she comes skipping by me, and I said, Hope, you got your shorts on, where'd you find them? I said, how did you get them? Because I knew they were in a basket on top of the dryer. Bad mom. And I said, how'd you get them? She said, I just got them. I said, well, how did you find them? She said, because I wanted to. I said, did you think you wouldn't be able to get them? She said, no. I said, well, I'm really glad you found them, Hope. And she goes skipping out of my bathroom. She comes back, she goes, oh, and I found 2 of them. Here's the thing, you guys. What you're seeking is always seeking you. You can go to the next one. Sometimes you think that you're out there looking for something that has to be found, but in all reality, what you're looking for is already looking for you. Go to the next one. This is one of my favorite verses. It says, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Do you see what happened with Hope's story? She was searching outside of herself. She wanted me to fix it for her. She wanted her sister to fix it for her. We didn't have the desire she did. It was hers. She had to look inside of herself. And here's the thing, you guys. That basket was about this tall. She's about this tall. How in the world did she get it down? I have no idea, still to this day. But she figured it out because she knew she wanted it and she was able to get it. The reason you have a desire today, whatever you wrote down, is because you were created to fulfill it. A creator never creates something without giving it the ability to fulfill its purpose. I've heard it said that a bird was created to fly, and so it does. But when it starts to fly, it has to fall out of the nest first. God promises to feed all the birds, but he never puts food in their nest. So a year from now, whatever you wrote down in your paper, your phone, your notebook, will you have stayed true to your desire? That's all that matters, is that you look inside, find the strength to go after it, stop searching out here, because out here is not what's going to get you to what you want in here. Thanks, guys, for having us.